The Dearborn Independent, August 6, 1921, number 41. Mr. Ford's page. Titles in business have done more harm than good. Most of them should be abolished. The results of business administration during the past quarter century has not been such as to reflect much honor on any title. In a day when we have titled directors who can see no cure for business save by refinancing it, it is time that we took off our decorations and put on blue jeans again. Refinancing is a game whereby good money is sent after bad, in order to perpetuate bad management and postpone the reckoning a little while longer. It is the tendency of title holders in business organizations to depend more on the power of money than on the power of work, and that is at the root of much of our trouble today. Recently, a financier made a speech in which he said a few plain things about the effect of titles in business. He was of the opinion that it was being very much overdone. He thought he observed harmful effects on industrial and business organizations by this method of decoration, and he seemed to feel that something ought to be done about it. It is a refreshing sign of the times that a businessman could be found who had the courage to stand up at a banquet and talk about so simple a matter. It is refreshing because it shows a willingness to climb down from the pedestal and look at the machinery of business as it actually works. We are all going back to work, even the men in the front office. Business has made a discovery. It has rediscovered work. The magic of money has been exploded, and the invincible power of work is again becoming appreciated. Businessmen have believed for too long a period that you could do anything by financing it. The most frequent item of business news that has marked the past 5 years has related to hundreds upon hundreds of concerns that have been refinanced. The process of refinancing is simply the game of sending good money after bad. In the majority of cases, the need of refinancing has arisen through bad management, and the effect of refinancing is simply to pay the poor managers to keep up their bad management a little longer. It is merely the postponement of the day of judgment which is overtaking and must overtake all concerns that have not played fair with the law of use and service. This makeshift of refinancing is, of course, a device of the speculative financiers. Their money is no good to them unless they can connect it up with a place where real work is being done, and they cannot connect it up with a place where real work is being done unless somehow that place is poorly managed. Thus, the speculative financiers delude themselves that they are putting their money out to use. They are not. They are putting it out to waste, and the end of the transaction is usually a sad experience. That, indeed, is one of the elements in the present condition of affairs which has troubled the country, but from which there is now a promise that we shall emerge. Take the railroads, for example. Theirs has been one long story of dependence on money before everything else. True, the railroads are a great national institution. True also, there have been men of vision connected with their development, but the major part of railroad history has had to do with stock markets and games of exploitation. Today, far too many railroads are run, not from the offices of practical men, but from banking offices, and the principles of procedure, the whole outlook is financial. Not transportational, but financial. There has been a breakdown of railroading generally, in this, the greatest railroad country in the world, simply because more attention has been paid to railroads as factors in the stock market than as servants of the people. Outworn ideas have been retained, development has been practically stopped. Railroad men with vision have not been free to grow. The dead hand of finance has been heavy on every department. As a result, what? Why, it is thought that perhaps $1 billion or thereabout will solve the difficulty. Let this be understood. $1 billion will only make the difficulty $1 billion worse. The purpose of the billion is simply to continue the present methods of railroad management, and it is because of the present methods that we have any railroad difficulties at all. This is not new. Every businessman who thinks knows it. But it is hard to get out of the ruts. Going back to dependence on work and not on money will make a big difference everywhere, and one of the effects will be the displacement of titles by real jobs. Titles are too often the dress uniform that should be laid aside for field uniform. A foreign observer in a recent book has written that in America we are very strong on titles. Everybody seems to be a president of something. There is a story of a president of the United States sojourning in the country and calling up the village post office on the phone. "This is the president," said he. "President of what?" inquired the boy at the other end. In his village there were plenty of presidents, from the town government to the Ladies' Aid Society. Most men can swing a job, but they are floored by a title. The effect of a title is very peculiar. It has been used too much as a sign of emancipation from work. It is almost equivalent to a sign, "This man has nothing to do but regard himself as important and all others as inferior." Not only has it been injurious to the wearers, but it has had its effect on others as well. There is perhaps no greater single source of personal dissatisfaction among men than the fact that the title bearers are not always the real leaders. Everybody acknowledges a real leader, a man who is fit to plan and command, but there are mountains of evidence everywhere that the real leaders are not always the title bearers. And when you do find a real leader who bears a title, you will have to inquire of someone else what his title is. He doesn't boast it. It has been greatly overdone and business has suffered from it. One of its specially bad effects is such a division of responsibility as amounts to a removal of responsibility altogether, where responsibility is broken up into many small bits and divided between many departments, each department under its own titular head, who in turn is surrounded by a group bearing their nice subtitles. It will be difficult to find anyone who really feels responsible. Everyone knows what passing the buck means, and the game must have originated in industrial organizations where the departments simply shove responsibility along. The health of every organization depends on every member of it, whatever his place, feeling that everything that happens to come to his notice relating to the welfare of the business is up to him. Railroads have gone to the devil under the eyes of departments that say, "Oh, that doesn't come under our department. Some other department 100 miles away has that in charge," and the interests of the road go to rot and ruin while each department tries to keep within its own narrow limits. There was formerly a lot of advice given to officials not to hide behind their titles. The very necessity of the advice showed a condition that needed more than advice to correct it. And the correction is just this: abolish the titles. A few may be legally necessary, a few may be useful in directing the public where to do certain kinds of business with the concern, but for the rest, the best rule is to get rid of them. As a matter of fact, the record of business just now is such as to detract very much from the value of titles. No one would boast of being president of a bankrupt bank. Well, business has not been so skillfully steered as to leave much margin for pride in the steersman. The right to bear titles is to be won all over again. The field is open. Past honors are withered. The contest is on anew. The men who bear titles now and are worth anything are forgetting their titles and are down in the foundations of their business looking for the weak spots. They are back again in the places from which they rose, trying to reconstruct from the bottom up. They are leaders in the reconstruction. And when a man is in that work, he doesn't need titles. His work decks him with honors.